Laptop.
No.
And serving is just boom.
No, this is fine with me. You can sit, it's okay. You the IT, no? I'm sure.
That's fine. Do you have join with my name or
Or which one you would like to use?
Hello, Shobna, can you hear me?
Hello, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, can we start? Can
Yes,
you ask
yes, sir.
Carol
I'll
to
inform.
start? Because I'm waiting for somebody to join.
I think we,
Okay, I'll.
Because she's messaged and we're waiting for you to,
Okay.
because it was showing you as a host, so I was
yeah,
I think we shall
sure that you
yeah,
logged in on medium as login credential. Okay. Sai is also ready, so I think you can go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Lavanya.
sure, sure. Yeah,
So Sai is there.
yeah,
Sai is
Hi,
joined.
hi, Lavanya. Hi,
Hi.
Satish. Hi, Arun. Yeah,
Good
yeah.
evening. Good evening to all.
Good evening. Good evening. So
Is there
maybe we
someone
can,
to join?
yeah, we can start off, Lavanya. We'll start.
Oh, okay. Because Shobana has not given me a green signal.
Yeah,
Oh,
actually,
sorry, ma'am.
yeah,
Actually, few people are yet to join, ma'am. I'm sorry.
No problem. Because we should be obedient to the host.
Shobna BG sir is joining.
We have sent a message in the group, ma'am. Ma'am. Yes, we can start, ma'am.
So can we start with the presentation, Shobana?
Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Okay. Arun? They're waiting, Arun. Arun? He has to start, right? He wants to introduce. Voice is not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm.
Yeah, please, sir.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, good evening to one and all, and I would like to thank Team Ecom for having reposed a kind of trust and confidence in our legal work in supporting you for a good cause. And as requested by Team Ecom, my dear wife, my partner, not only in life but also in my profession, Advocate Lavanya will be seeing you through this overview on privacy policy. So, Lavanya, you can take it from here. Good luck.
Yes. See, first of all, good evening to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Lavanya.
Please, ma'am.
Yeah, very clear.
So can I go ahead?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm first of all, my sincere apologies. There has been a terrible, network issues at my end with respect to my laptop getting connected to the network. So I have to, take the aid of my phone, and I've been shuffling my audio and video accordingly. So kindly bear with the inconvenience, all of you. Okay. So shall I start now?
yeah, sure, Lavanya. Yeah.
Yeah. See, first of all, this particular orientation or this overview is not an exhaustive one. But however, this will give you an insight into what is the need and necessity for a privacy policy and why especially it comes into play at this point of time when we are all dominated by the cyber law. And to start with, I would like to share a PPT with you, all of you, so that for better understanding and any queries, you can just, route it through Dr. Satish. So can I'll just go ahead with the presentation now. Now, gone are those days when, doctors were just, physically available. Okay, then doctors are now, easily available through the tele calls. How is it possible? It is only possible because of the technology. So one way it is a boon, one way it is a bane. Now, what are the ways it is beneficial for the society, for the doctors as well as for the patients and other people who are consulting the professionals? Because it gives an easy access to the professionals and it gives timely access to the patients. So this is a boon. What is a bane? If we don't follow certain regulations as laid down by the cyber laws, then those people, that is those people who are providing the service through the tele consultation, it might be the doctors, it might be the platform providers, they are in for trouble. So what is it that we are going to look into with this overview here? See, first and foremost, the telemedicine guidelines was issued by the Government of India in the wake of the global pandemic COVID-19. This was issued by the Government of India on 25th March 2020, relaxing that the telemedicine can be provided by the doctors, that is the professionals, and in concurrence with Appendix 5 of the Indian Medical Council Act, which was earlier not the case. But now, due to the pandemic, there are certain regulations where we have to forcibly abide. One such thing is to maintain social distancing. So the frontline workers, especially the doctors and the other professionals, healthcare professionals, are at vulnerable, risk, because it is they who are interacting with the patients. It is they who are communicating with the patients and their kith and kin. So in order to ease in this, the Government of India realized that there is a possibility through telemedicine and issued certain guidelines. Now coming on to the legalities of telemedicine. See, telemedicine is a way in which the doctor or the healthcare professional is administering the healthcare facility to the patient and their kith and kin. However, there are certain statutes that encompass the telemedicine. What are those? Those are the Information Technology Act 2000. The information technology, they have a special practice and procedure rules with respect to the sensitive personal information. The Drugs and Cosmetics Act, the Indian Medical Council Act, the Indian Penal Code, the Indian Contract Act. Why contract comes into play? It's though there is no written contract. Anything which is, explicitly told or implied consent, that comes under contract and it is covered under the contract. Even electronic contracts are being now considered as contracts because there are certain consideration and there are certain procedures which has to follow. Hence, the Indian Contract Act, the Consumer Protection Act, the Indian Medical Council Professional Conduct and Ethics Regulation Act, the Clinical Establishment Act, and also now comes into picture the main hero that is to be called as the Personal Data Protection Act of 2020. It is yet to be passed in the Parliament and there are certain delay why it has not been passed earlier. Now, how was the data protected before this Personal Data Protection Act? See, the Information Technology Act in whole, by and large, covers the ambit of protecting the data which is shared through the computers. What is that which is being provided? See, Section 43A of the Information Technology Act talks specifically on how a data can be protected. And 72A comes into play because of whenever there is personal data breach, which is a punishable offense. So these two sections were accordingly amended and it was incorporated into the Information Technology Act. Now there are certain important sections of the Information Technology Act. What are they? Section 43A, as I earlier quoted to you now, it talks about the data protection, how a data should be protected, what are the means to protect it, and if the intermediary, that is any person who acts on behalf of the professionals or any platform provider, how they are supposed to receive the data from the individuals and how they are to protect it. They should simply adhere to the reasonable protection means. Of course, nothing is foolproof in the internet because internet by and large has made geography as a history because there is no boundaries for internet. There is no boundary where it can reach. So certain things are maintained by the intermediaries and for which if they don't reasonably maintain, then they have to be punishable under the Section 72A of the Information Technology Act. Now Section 43A, what does it largely say? Because it is a very important section. It says that failure to protect data and what are the compensation for failure to protect data is being covered under the 43A of the IT Act. So any person who does not, in his reasonable means, protect the data of the individuals or by any means wrongfully shares the data of the individuals are liable to be punished and they are liable to be compensated. The victims are liable to be compensated here. And when it comes to the Information Technology Act, what are the things that can be covered under this personal protection? Those are the ones, those are passwords. See, any person having a password are supposed to be having a personal protection under this particular Information Technology Act. Some financial transactions, such as financial information shared through banks and other things and other like that. Some certain details like health issues, like physical, physiological, mental health conditions, all those also are covered under this particular act. And sexual orientation, suppose there might be a transgenders or they might be, it is all sensitive personal health data. And these data are supposed to be protected when a particular intermediary or a particular teleconsultant, be it a professional, that is the RMPs, that is the registered medical practitioners, are involved in the teleconsultation service, because those are the very, 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 very sacred information shared by an individual in the hope that it only serves that purpose. Suppose if that purpose is not being met, or if that purpose is breached by the intermediary or the RMPs, then they come under the legal purview of having breached the personal information of that particular individual. So that is one more thing to be told. Which are not sensitive personal data then? So any information which is freely available in the public domain is not categorized under sensitive personal data. And any information through which a person or any individual can obtain through an RTA is not considered as a sensitive personal data. But however, those which are very, very, very close to them, that is the medical health records, the personal information, their skin, their health condition, their physiological condition, all those are sensitive personal information which should not be shared to any other person or any other purpose apart from the ones that has been shared to them. Then how did the emergence now comes into the necessity for a privacy policy in India? The necessity is to protect the right of the individual, and how it can be duly met by the telemedicine consultants or the intermediaries here. First and foremost, the privacy policy has certain things which are, a privacy policy has to be mandatorily be present in a website or in an application along with the terms of use, because these two together conjointly express the necessity of how the intermediary is getting the source from the individuals, how it is maintaining it, and how it is protecting it to its reasonable extent. So what are those? The privacy policy must be very clear, and it should explicitly express what are the practice it is adopting, and what are the type of personal information it is collecting, and for what purpose it is going to use, and whether such information is going to be shared to a third party, and if at all, if it is going to share through a third party, then what are the norms, and whether it is going to obtain the consent from the individual. These are the very, very mandatory things that has to be present in a privacy policy. And if they disclose the information, how far they can disclose the information? Is it that whatever the individual has given, can they completely reveal it? No, certainly not. So there are certain norms that it has to follow. And what are those? That has been enumerated in detail at the Reasonable Security Practices and Procedures of the 2018 Act, which clearly says that certain things are not permissible, certain things are permissible. So those are the very important things. And how did this all happen all of a sudden in India? It didn't happen all of a sudden in India because on 25th May 2018, the European Union had come up with the GDPR. What is GDPR here? It is nothing but the General Data Protection Regulation, and it wanted to protect the citizens and the individuals' privacy and respect their privacy. And this all had come up in India very recently. If everybody can recall, in the year 2017, way back in 3 years, about the Aadhaar card. Certain people were saying that it was violating the fundamental rights of the Indian citizen. Certain people said that it is mandatory because we have to obtain the necessary information. So then the Supreme Court of India, under the chairmanship of Justice B.M. Sri Krishna, conducted a comprehensive study on the privacy laws across the world, including the GDPR, and came up with or proposed a draft bill called as the Personal Data Protection Bill of 2018. So this is the nascent stage of the PPA Act, which is going to come into play in the 2020. Why? Because the Personal Data Protection Bill had been submitted in the Parliament, and subsequently, since the Parliament was dissolved, it has lapsed till now. Now, how is this personal data protection law going to help us? This personal data protection law, which is going to finally, come into play way early, I think much earlier than by the end of this 2020 or 2021, definitely, has been passed by the Parliament on 11th December 2019. So till then, there was certain, favoring of this bill, and some people were not favoring the bill. So now the Parliament has, come up with a solution that there will be necessary modifications made to it, and accordingly, this particular bill will be passed in the 2020 latest. So hopefully, we all await that the Personal Data Protection Act of the 2020 happens amidst this COVID-19 pandemic. Now, where is the PDPA or this particular Personal Data Protection Act going to help us, or who all it is going to help us, and who all should be, following this particular PDPA? It means that anybody who's handling data, anybody who's handling the information of individuals have to come under this ambit of PDPA. So it might be the IT companies who are handling data. It might be the non-IT companies handling personal data, such as the banks and other insurance industries, and also the government sectors, which have this information about each and every individual, be it the Aadhaar and other means. And also the MNCs, because they collect the employees' data, and also they have this information in their database. And also NGOs. So in nutshell, we can put it like this, that any sector which is handling the personal data of individuals come under the purview of the PDPA Act. Now, what is this, European Union's GDPR, and why it is, so popular, and why it is gaining more, importance in this PDPA Act of 2020 of us? Because it was the European Union which came up with the data privacy law called the GDPR on 25th May 2018, and it had not even told that it is not compromising on this privacy, and privacy by default is the keyword of this GDPR. So at no cost, the individual's privacy can be compromised, and if it is going to be compromised, and almost close to 20 million euros is the fine or the penalty which is going to levy. So that being the case, how then this GDPR is going to play a significant role in India, and especially so with the Indian companies? Because our Indian companies also process personal data of the EU residents, and hence a part of the EU GDPR is also applicable to us. Otherwise, what happens is, there will be a lot of, since internet is, cutting across boundaries. So this information which has been shared or which has been given or provided in India does not, contain only within the Indian territory. It is going beyond the territorial jurisdiction. So then hence we are also supposed to comply with the EU's GDPR. So the PDPA is definitely going to be different from the GDPR in various respects, depending on the territorial. However, it will also take the essence of GDPR, which is the main privacy law, which has been followed and which is, coming into play in the global. Now, the USA also has a particular Insurance, Portability and Accountability Act of the 1996 called as a HIPAA. This particular HIPAA covers certain privacy aspects, and it has got 5 main rules. One being the privacy rule, one being the security, the other being the transaction rules, identifier rules, and the enforcement rule. So it is not only restricted to the EU, but the USA is also having an earlier version of this Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act way back in 1996. Since this privacy policy of India is now coming into effect or coming into enforcement recently or going to be enforced recently, we are also abiding, or we should also abide with the EU as well as the HIPAA of the global scenario. privacy laws. Now this Personal Data Protection Act comprises of 14 chapters and it has got in all 98 sections. And in the along with this, the Schedule 1, it gives an amendment to the ITA Act, that is the Information Technology Act of 2000, by removing the section 43A. What is the section 43A? If you had rightly recalled in my earlier slides, it was talking about the data protection and how a data can be specifically should be protected. So this has got certain amendments here in this PDPA and it is coming into play now. So section 1 to 3 broadly classify the title, applicability of the act and the definitions, and section 4 to 11 talk about the obligations of the data fiduciary, and section 12 to 15 about the grounds for processing personal data without consent, and what are the ones which can be processed without the consent of the individuals. And section 16 specifically talks about the personal data and sensitive data of children. Now we can wonder how it can, personal data of children comes into play. Suppose if a child seeks a medical consultation, it is still a minor in the eyes of law. So it has been guarded or it has been protected by the guardian or the natural guardian being the mother and father or the custodian of the child. So hence, those people are also to have willfully given the consent to have shared the personal data or the sensitive data of the child. It might be due to anything. It might be on health grounds. It might be due to the mental health or the physical health or anything. So this particular section covers the personal data and sensitive data of children. Then comes section 17 to 21, which says or which enumerates about the rights of data principal. Who's a data principal and what are his rights? And section 22 to 32 again talks about the privacy by design policy, and section 33 to 34, restriction on transfer of personal data outside India. Again, this is where any person, be it in our case, the EHC, has to lay emphasis on, because we are not restricting, or the team is not restricting to the service within India. It is also catering, or it is also taking the consultation of professionals from all over the world and providing service to the Indian citizens. So in that case, what are the restrictions on transfer of personal data outside the India? And now, I'm sorry, I might, please excuse me to go to the previous slide. I have not completed that. Now sections 35 to 40 also gives certain exemptions. So what are they? So certain exemptions are there for the, be it the intermediary or the professionals who are giving this service through consultation or telemedicine. And section 41 to 56 again talks about the data protection authorities. Who are they? And they have been designated to protect the data of the individuals, and they have been empowered with certain jurisdictional power as well as the territorial power, as well as certain penalties which they can levy if in the probability of any breach of this particular data protection. Then sections 57 to 66 talks about the penalties and the compensation in case if any person or any individual or any firm or any company has breached, then what are the penalties and how it can compensate the individual. That has been covered under section 57 to 66 here. And section 67 to 77, how the individual aggrieved can also reach the appellate tribunal, or in the alternate, even the intermediaries can approach the appellate tribunal. Section 78 to 81 talks about the management of the entire intermediary, like the finance, accounts and audit, and how it has to be audited, how it has to be accounted for. Section 82 to 85 again describes in detail about the offenses committed by the intermediaries and how it should be penalized by the authorities. Section 86 to 98 is the general, miscellaneous section which caters to the other various aspects. Now I have to, I will be leaving the audience, very vague if I don't, quote certain definitions respect to the PDPA Act. What is a data first? A data is nothing but it represents the facts, information, concepts, opinions, or instructions in a manner suitable for communication, interpretation of processing by humans or automated means. So does it restrict only to humans who are procuring the data? No. Even if the data has been procured through an AI, that is the automated means, then it also is being covered under the PDPA Act. Now, consent. Now, what for do you get consent with the individual? The consent has to be obtained from the individual for processing his or her personal data. So that is very, very important in any aspect of protecting his privacy. Now, data fiduciary. Who are the data fiduciaries? The data fiduciary might be any person who is being appointed either by the state or by any juristic entity to protect the rights of the individual under this act. And who are the data principal here? The data principal are nobody other than you and me, whoever is going to share the data with another company or another organization to procure certain information or services through them. So anybody can come under as a data principal. So there are people who are natural person and to whom the personal data relates to. Now, who are the data processor? Any person, again, once again, it might be juristic entity or including us, any individual or a state who process the entire data. Now, what are the health data? The health data is primarily related to the state of the physical or the mental health of the data principal, and it can also include the records. Either it might be the past records or the present or in related to the present health record, suggesting of the futuristic treatment to be given to that particular data principal. And once again, the person here defines as any individual, any undivided family of a family person, a company, a firm, or an association of persons or a body of individuals. Now, coming to the personal data. What do you mean by personal data? Personal data is those which are related to the natural identity of a person, whether it is directly or indirectly identifiable. Why here directly or indirectly identifiable? Directly if the person is a major, and indirectly when a person is a minor. So that is how it is identifiable here. And this personal data can be obtained either through online or through offline, and it shall all include under the personal data. Now, what does it mean by personal data breach? Any accidental disclosure of the personal data or a destruction or a loss of the access to the personal data, and where any person compromises on the personal data and shares the personal data of the data principal, knowingly, then that is called or covered under personal data breach. Now, what is profiling? Profiling means any form of processing of personal data that analyzes or predicts aspects concerning the behavior, attributes, or interest of a data principal. If I might likely to quote here, I would like to state a particular case law called the Cambridge Analytica case, which the European Union had accidentally or willfully shared the details pertaining to the US elections. And this was done through the Facebook, and they had voluntarily accepted that they had done it, but they have not done without the consent of the individual, but they have taken the consent of the individual. Now, one might be wondering how they can take the consent of the individual. We are all not aware of one particular thing which is there, in our everyday life. We accidentally or we unknowingly, we click on various apps or various, not only the websites, without even going through their personal, the privacy laws and the terms of use. In that particular privacy policy or the terms of use, they would have clearly mentioned that these kind of data which they obtain from us can be used later by them, and they can they can have access to our camera, they can have access to our images, gallery, whatsoever, and we have simply by way of clicking on the click wrap agreement, that is what is called, you simply press I agree. And I do not say that, not only, individuals, but even legal professionals like us, we also are, susceptible to this kind of, click wrap agreements. And we invariably click on the I agree. So what happens? You have already given your consent without even going through the privacy policy, without even going through the terms of use, and what they have stated in that. And as a result, our personal data or our personal information is out in the open public domain. So this is what has been happening. However, I rightly told that internet or the technology is a boon. It is also a bane when it comes to the breach of personal information of each and every individual of today's life. So we all have to be actively cautious about what we are clicking, and before that, it is always advisable to go through the privacy policy of the website, to go through the terms of use of the website, and find out whether any such clause is prevalent over there, and if so, it is advisable not to click the click wrap agreement. Otherwise, you had openly or admittedly given your consent, and tomorrow you cannot cry foul against the company who has misused or have used your data or your information to any extent. So such is the level of what you can term it as a data breach, which is unknowingly given by the each and every individual without knowing that it has got a lot of ramifications. Now, what are the sensitive personal data? Sensitive personal data means any such personal data which may reveal or be related to the financial data, the health data, or the sexual orientation, or the genetic data, or the caste, tribe, religious, or any such political belief. And once again, this also is to be considered under section 15 of the PDPA Act. Now, I will give you all a small sort of exercise. I would really want all the participants to make a note of this particular important, interesting case laws. And if need be, please go through and take a gist of this particular, case laws. It will show, it will throw light on how the IT Act has been, completely under the scanner of the government, and how things are, how perpetrators are misusing the internet, and how we should be careful as an individual. One such case is the Shreya Singhal versus Union of India. This particular case law was pronounced on 24th March 2015, which declared that section 66A of the IT Act is to be struck down, as it is violative of Article 19(1)A, and it is not saved under Article 19 subclause 2. So this particular case has got wider ambit in the sense of how a personal data is, offense, like how a particular person can be arrested for posting any offensive content on the websites. So this particular case law enumerates in detail how that particular, offensive post can be punishable under the IT Act. Now, the next case law is Diebold Systems Private Limited versus Commissioner of Commercial Taxes. Here, the High Court of Karnataka had simply acknowledged that the computer's definition has got a wider ambit, and ATM is not a computer by itself, because here in this particular case law, they were having a contemplation whether ATM was a computer or it has to be treated as just a simple machine. But however, the High Court ruled that an ATM is not a computer by itself, and it is connected to a computer that performs a task requested by the persons using the ATM. The computer is connected electronically to many ATMs that may be located some distance from the computer, which is the host computer here. So this is also a very important case law, which says that an ATM, even though it's not a computer, it has been connected to a computer, and hence it has to be treated as though it comes under the purview of the IT Act. Now comes the next case law here, that is the NASSCOM versus Ajay Sood. Here, this was the first case law which was decided on phishing. What do you mean by phishing? See, somebody portraying themselves to be a person who's a bigger organization or something, and collects the various personal data of the people and uses it for or misuses it for various purposes. So this particular case law is the first of its kind in India when it comes to phishing. Now the next case law which I would like to show before you, or they explain to you, is about the state, that is the cyber cell versus Yogesh Panduranga Prabhu. Here the victim was actually having a friendship with an accused, in the sense that they had an Orkut profile, and she came in contact with the accused, and they became the friends through the social media. And how this victim was traumatized by the accused, because he expressed his desire that he has a liking towards this victim, and she had said that I have no such feelings, please do not have such kind of intentions. In order to take her thing into the in order to punish her, he had sent a lot of emails, and which eventually landed like a series of emails he had sent, and those emails he had sent a lot of photographs, lot of pornographic postures and other nude photographs and everything of the victim, and morphing it and other kind of things which he had done. And finally he was the arms of law stretched, and he was accused and he was convicted. But however, this particular case goes to show that how even a social media site cannot be a foolproof one. And then comes the this is one of the another famous one on cyber terrorism. See, today the world has shrunk to a certain extent, that gone are those days when people used terror means by physically having implanting bombs and other such things. But now it is all through cyber means. And how it has been done, this particular case law goes to show that this particular petitioner, who was a BTech graduate and with the ITC of Bengaluru, and he was into Islam, and he wanted to use this particular Twitter handle, namely Shami Witness, and it was catering to the ISIS, that is Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, and he was working towards motivating and helping these fighters, and later on terrorizing the country through this particular Twitter. Somehow the particular case was registered in Gangamma Gudi Police Station, Bengaluru City, and the petitioner, the so-called BTech graduate, was punished under section 66F of the Information Technology Act, which covers the cyber terrorism here. Now the state, there is one more case I would like to share, that is the state of Maharashtra versus Vishal Hiraman Bogde and others. Here, this particular informant was a Cyber Cell commissioner, and he had got this message that the Ganesha, during the Ganesha, festival, the Mission Ganesha attack was going to happen. And in order to stop that, he had approached the cyber cell, and in turn, they had, put into an investigation team, and they came out to know that the particular IP address was routed to a cyber, cafe. And when they approached the cyber cafe, the cyber cafe owner was telling that I'm a very, very, law-abiding citizen, and I have no such intention to send such mails, and it is not from my end. But then the police had to show them that this is the IP address from where this particular thing has come, and can you please explain? Then immediately they had taken into the ledger thing, and they checked, and they found that the person who had used the cafe had sent this email. However, the details of that was not maintained in the register. So invariably, though the accused were penalized, they were, given as an exception, rule of exception, stating that henceforth the cyber cafes must maintain a register, and it should definitely maintain the entry point and the exit point of this particular person or individual who's using, and also the details of the individual who's using. Now, what is section 72A? See, section 72A, I would like to illustrate with a small illustration. This is nothing but disclosure of information in the event of breach of a lawful contract. What is a lawful contract? Anything which is legitimate, anything which is legal, that is called as a lawful contract. Now here I can give you with an illustration. Say for example, Samir works in a call center for a large bank. He has access to the financial records of all the customers of the bank. He comes to know that Pooja has fixed deposits worth rupees 2 crore. Now, this Samir passes this information to his friend Siddharth, who now starts manipulating and threatening Pooja in order to extort money from her. Now, however, this particular act is not directly done by Samir. He is still liable under this section and punishable under the eyes of law. Why? Because he has shared the personal data of the particular customer to his friend, which is nothing but a breach of personal data information sharing. So hence I would like to emphasize on the veracity of the privacy policy and the terms of use, because these two documents or these two mandatory agreements are should and must in any website or in any platform that an intermediary or a professional is engaged into. Otherwise, the ramifications, however much we are innocent, cannot be proved until there is sufficient agreement or a data to show before the law or the court. So hence, I would all request you to stay data conscious and also adhere to the basic bare minimum protections that we can dutifully we can comply with. Certain things like opt for a app, any free app. Please don't be in a haste to click on the click wrap agreement without going through the privacy policy, without going through the terms of use. Check whether the terms of use and the personal the privacy policy has any certain or such clause which states that this particular information shared by the individual can be used by us, and we can share it with a third party or any such thing. If that being the case, I personally request each one of you to refrain from not opting to go for that app or go for that website. Please ensure that safety is of paramount interest, because today we are living in a cyber world and we do not know, even by this particular time, whatever we are discussing over the Zoom platform, we do not know how far it is foolproof. So hence, I would request every one of the participants to kindly share this valuable information of how this click-wrap agreement. You need not even express the entire privacy policy to your, kith and kin or to your friends or your, family. But please ensure that next time when any such thing comes on your website called as a click-wrap agreement, please go through the privacy policy. Please go through the terms of use. And then when you're convinced, then you please opt for this app or for the website. I wish to thank each one of you to have patiently listened, and I wanted to thank in person Arun for being my mentor and being my support, pillar of support, and I also want to thank Dr. Sai for giving us or repose that faith that we can do the legal counseling or legal advisory thing for Team Ekam. I thank you one and all for being a very good participant and sincere listeners. Thank you, all of you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Lavanya. It was really,
welcome,
it's actually the clarity, it was so good because this is all very new to us, and you have really expressed it so beautifully and so clearly. Thank you so much. I mean, we really need to be, we really need to be so careful, and automatically many times we just click on that I agree whenever we download any app, and it's like it has such a this thing. And especially now we are working in the UNICEF project and various projects, we are collecting data, personal data. Correct. And relevance to that is so important. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Not only that, I would emphasize, Sai, that today the children are vulnerable because today children are engaged into online education, as well as they are always to be honest, we are all you, me, and all of the participants here are nothing but we are all digital migrants. But however, post 2010, those children or those generation have become digital natives, which means that they are already with the mobile, they are already with the technology. So they should be doubly careful and doubly cautious to ensure that this click-wrap agreement or whatever it is does not happen in their slightest casual manner, because that will have a lot of ramification in the future.
Yeah.
So any questions which you people have, I would suggest that you can route it through an email, and I can definitely look into that, and I can respond to it, because it is not an exhaustive one. I have just taken you all through an overview, and I hope that there was little bit of clarity which everybody had got.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. It's very useful information you gave, in fact. Ma'am, you have given the examples of the case studies and other things.
So your voice is breaking. So your voice is breaking.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hello, this is DG. Hi, this is DG Menon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I just have a few points. Dr. Sai, one of the things I felt after listening to this is that this impacts Ekam in multiple ways. One is that internally we should be very clear on what data people at various points can collect. Like if we clearly say that we are not going to collect sexual orientation and so many other things, we don't collect religion or caste, there are n number of things. So one is that we need to clearly document and ensure that people, whoever are at key positions in inside in Chennai or outside, that no individual can on his or her own collect data, and that collection would be without the knowledge and consent of the company. So that is something I feel we should be very clear. And going forward, this is very important, because if somebody, as you said, someone collects how many FDs you have or sexual orientation or something, and then uses it against a person, company will be in trouble. So we should be having, that I think the advocate ma'am can help us in terms of how this can be addressed. And then whatever we are collecting.
Yes, because even if it is going.
Sorry?
Yeah. No, even if it is going to be through a third party who is affiliated with this EHC.
Yeah,
then
right.
Even then also this EHC will be coming into the purview of this act.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
yes, correct,
Because
correct.
We have to expressly state that we have done all that due diligence from our end.
Yeah, agreed. So this will be more and more important as time passes, because so much data is available globally that we need to be very careful. It was a very, very informative talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sai, can I?
Yeah.
Hello, Sai?
Yes,
Yeah.
This is Satish.
Yeah, Satish. Yes.
Yes, sir. Tell me.
Yeah, when actually you sent us the draft of the point, one of the things that I was going through is that ACAN was an NGO. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So when the privacy policy was actually circulated to us by email from them, I went through that, and one of the things that I actually thought about ACAN and the kind of data that we were collecting also would impact, because I have gone through the privacy policies that the parliament was supposed to pass, the new bills and all, and also the new information technology and the telemedicine laws and all that were supposed to be amended for the COVID period. So, since I have joined the course very newly in National Law School, I was sitting and putting my head on this and say, okay, we tend to collect data in such a wide manner, as as Mr. Menu was saying, that every worker at the ground level has to be very careful about the information, and there needs to be consent from every participant that we collect the data from. Proper consent needs to be there.
Yes.
And
not only that, it has to be routed or accounted through one channel.
Yes.
To avoid any kind of ambiguity, it should be routed only through one channel.
Yes, absolutely.
So what happens is that particular channel is in charge of collecting of data, maintaining it, and processing it.
True.
So, for example, we are actually doing a UNICEF project in Tamil Nadu where we are actually sort of tracking postnatal mothers. And so across Tamil Nadu, almost it is like 80,000 villages across Tamil Nadu. And now we are mapping volunteers per village. And they would be collecting the data of the postnatal mothers, all the data, their name, their, all the personal details will be there. And because that is essential, because, in order to track and see that whatever the baby is followed up and the mother is followed up. So in that case, with each and every mother, we need to take a consent from this.
Yes, absolutely. There is a consent letter which you have to obtain.
Okay.
Because tomorrow, let's assume that this particular individual who's giving it in the village is a rural, uneducated lady who's signing or who's giving the data. Later on, if they are being taken over by, some corporate bigwigs, and they want to, pose some threat or, some kind of impediment to the working of this particular project, they can very easily trap this particular, aspect and, make it as a big impediment for the project.
Yeah.
So in order to avoid that, another document which clearly states on the basic thing of what has been collected from you and for what purpose this has been collected has to be definitely documented. Legal document has to be there.
Okay. And it should be written, in Tamil, especially, that she actually is able to understand. And
yes, or it can also be expressed in Tamil. Just like how in Vakalatnama, in legally speaking, we have it, that it can also be even a native of another language can also be expressed in his mother tongue and it can be signed. The document can be in English.
Okay. Yeah, this is very essential, and
Yes.
maybe later on, if you could guide what that
Yes.
document the mother needs to sign. I
Definitely.
think yeah.
Definitely.
Good that this happened before the project launch happened. It's going to
We should
start.
we should thank the Almighty.
Yeah, thank you. Very,
Yeah.
very nice. Huh? I thought it was
Yeah.
very, very educative and informative. And
Yeah.
time passing will be more and more relevant. Every
Yeah.
passing
Yes, sir.
moment it is more relevant, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, I request everybody with folded hands that, please, in whatever manner, starting from today, please keep your eyes, ears open and ensure that whatever, because we are all, connected through the internet. So
Yeah.
whatever the information which we are sharing, if I might rightly quote here, the WhatsApp, please take some time, read through the WhatsApp terms and use in the privacy policy. Whatever has been shared is not at all foolproof and it can be used by anybody.
Yeah.
Otherwise, have you ever thought why this particular app is being given to us free? Because there is no free lunch in this world. Everything comes with a price. So in turn, what we are giving is, what we are compromising unknowingly is our personal data.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So all of us have to be, exercising this data conscious very sincerely, so that to our level best. See, internet is definitely a boon, but there are certain etiquettes to be followed. So those can be covered in the subsequent session, because I don't want to club everything in this particular session.
Yeah. Yeah.
Audio is not there. Yes, yes. No, Arun. No, what there? Audible. It's not audible. Hello?
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, Arun, now
All
Yes,
right.
now
yeah.
audible. Arun.
Yeah, we can
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am. So I hope it. Oh, great. So I hope it was informative. And as Lavanya rightly said, one very important aspect is please go through all terms and conditions no matter what. It might be laborious, it might be huge, you might have to read a lot of points, but it's better to do that, because one thing in law is very clear: ignorantia law non qui excusat, which means ignorance of law is not an excuse. It is considered as a prerequisite that you have gone through certain terms and conditions before you say I agree. So tomorrow you will not be able to take the defense of ignorance. The law is very clear on those aspects. And coming to another aspect is with regard to the letter of consent that Lavanya was mentioning. You can have a clause, the clause which can say very clearly that this has been explained to the person in the mother tongue or the language known to her. You can have that particular point in that. So that what happens is when the person is signing it, tomorrow they cannot take the defense that they were kept uninformed, or they were unaware, or they were not aware of the contents of whatever they are signing, because sometimes there would also be people who will put their LTM, that is their left thumb impression. So under those circumstances, it is always advisable to have a small clause, a rider which says this has been explained to the person in the language known to her. And then that takes care of that aspect also. So that's what I just wanted to say. So Lavanya, anything else?
No, nothing. Any questions from the participants pertaining to this particular session? I will be able to clarify.
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, sir.
Thanks so much, Lavanya, Arun.
Thank you so much.
No,
It
no,
was a
we have
very
already done
interesting
our
and
job.
wonderful talk. Thank you all.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Thank you
and
so much.
Thank
But
you.
I would like to personally thank my partner in life as well as in profession, Lavanya. She's been working on this for quite some time. And
Yeah.
I just said one thing: take all the liberty, do it in your style. And I'm happy that she's within a short span in this profession, she's able to reach wuthering heights. And we would
Yes.
like to continue our support to ACOM through whatever
Thank
way
you
that
so
we
much.
can from a legal
Thank you.
perspective.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arun. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. And thanks,
Thank you.
Lavanya. Really, it was
Welcome,
so
welcome.
very, very
I hope
nice.
it is useful. I hope everybody
Yeah, yeah.
adheres to this, basic, precautions before, clicking. Next time, please, when you click on an app or any of your family member clicks on an app, please ask them to, hold on for a second, go through the privacy policy, and when you're convinced, then you go for the app.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
So
Okay, yes,
once again, thank you, ma'am. Once again,
Yeah,
thank you so much on behalf of us, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
So we shall leave the meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah. 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 Sure. Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Arun, Lavanya.
Shobana has
Thank
to
you.
do the meeting.